Hello, Chill Computer Guy. Today we're here in Reason 9.1. We're going to talk about the Kong. Now the thing is about the Kong is there was a time when I just didn't really use it. I used the Redrum. I like the step sequencer in the Redrum, and that's real great. But the problem is it's really hard to get variation as far as picking out the right sound for the groove. The thing is with the Redrum, you can program your sequencer on there and then actually use CV and run that into the back of the Kong and then trigger the Kong via the Redrum. So you can still use the sequencer on the Redrum to trigger the Kong. But the fact is each pad on the Kong, and you have 16 pads, has 4 different hit types, a total of like 64 different sounds with one instance of Kong. Not only that, but the ability to, again, route. What I love about Propellerhead Reason is your ability to route. Let's go into today's lesson. What we're going to talk about is using the Kong, auditioning different sounds, and getting some variation along the way. So you'll see here we have a couple of Kongs right here. We have this one over here, and I have loaded these pads up, and I'm only using 8 pads. The top 8 don't even have samples in them. But this here is the Hip Hop Genius from Splice.com. These are a bunch of one-shots that I've loaded up. What I've done is I've gone through all the sounds, and I have taken the ones that I think are the best and loaded them into the Kong. But the great thing about this, if I hit this magnifying glass here, I have different hit types. So now the fact that I have the different hit types, and then I can easily switch between them to get just the right sound. Now, not only that, but this little tiny magnifying glass is powerful because you can also alter your drum assignment. You know, if you have a rhythm in here, maybe you can adjust that right here. Maybe you want pad number 1 to trigger pad 5. You can just simply do that. So you have the hit type, you have the drum assignment. Now you also can link these. Like if you want to link these two together, you'll see there's a mute. A, B, and C are for muting the pad. D, E, and F are for linking. And then now the alt, what that will do is if you line this up like here with the tom, you hit this, it's going to alter between the two. That's how the alt works. Now the link basically means that the two pads will be linked. And the mute so that's basically how that works. And then if you go above there, you can solo and mute each particular pad. You know, there's it muted. And then but the great thing about this is by clicking on this little magnifying glass, you get a lot of options right there on the pad. And so that's really powerful. Now you also have that with the pitch and the decay here. Of course, you hit Control, click, it will put it back in the middle where it was. And then this is a great one also because you can see auxiliaries. Now if I flip this around, you can see I have a couple of effects here. I have the reverb and I have the DDL delay, and they're both coming out of the auxiliary. Okay, auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, and then those are going back up into the mixer here. So you can see I have my drums, my reverb return, and my delay return. And so you can change the return amount. I recommend leaving these the same because how you want to do this is you want to use your send amount. So this first one here is your bus effects, which I don't have any bus effects, but if I drop down and put a rattler on that, let's say, so I can bust that. I can control the bus amount right there. And you can see just by adjusting these sliders, this one is controlling the send to the bus effect. This amount is controlling the send to the reverb, and this amount is controlling the send to the delay. And by just clicking that, it's all right there. Very cool. So if I click here, now you can control the pan and the tone here. There's right, left, here's the volume. Then of course if you hit control click, it will reset that to the default value. And then the level, that's kind of weird. Oh, that's the level and the tone. That's interesting. So this magnifying glass over here controls the level and the tone, okay? And you can see the T for tone and the L for level there. And then the magnifying glass one over controls the pan and the level. So that's a little confusing, but you know, whatever. And again, if you just control click, you'll reset this. But here's what I like about this setup is you can go ahead and throw yourself a drum loop in here. I got a drum loop here, and it's just a basic loop, you know, it's just basic. So you can see my pattern here. I have eighth note kick drums, eighth note hi-hats. I have quarter note snare drums. So I can go ahead and play this. Let's go ahead and take those down to quarter notes. There we go. So we can go ahead and play this. And you can see by adjusting my hit types, you know, variation is king. You have to set up a basic pattern. I mean, very basic MIDI pattern. Of course, I highlight all these. I hit F8. If you saw my other tutorial on the options, the tool window here, I have altered the velocity 14%, so you can see the velocity curve is all over the place, and that adds to the feel. But this is with absolutely no groove. Now I can put a groove on this. Let's put Old Goat on there and see what we got. Yeah. So now it's dropping behind there a little bit. Now the great thing about this is you have this loop. I'm going to go ahead and drag this on to another Kong. So this is the Kong on the right. We're going to go ahead and play this again. Same type of thing. So again, that's the Kong. Set this up in a way that use these. You got your hit type. Instantly can switch between a hit type. Now also on this, you'll see that these kick drums, they have keys. So along the side now, the great thing about the Kong is you can drop several things in it. You can drop an NNXT Octarex, which that's pretty powerful. Physical bass drum, you have your physical, about all this stuff. Your synth drums, so you got all your synth drums, 4 different digital sound. Then you have the physical or acoustic modeling, and then you have your NNXT. But the NNXT, what's valuable about it is always remember, if you drop out and drop something else in here, you're going to lose all your samples in your NNXT. So that's super important. But the great thing about this is you have all these controls on your sample, and then you have hit types. This is hit 1, hit type 1. This happens to be a kick drum that is in the key of E. And so what I've done is under hit type, I've put the key in there. So this is E, and you'll see over here, this is E, that's G sharp, and then that's F. And then there's no 4th drum in there. But so that's a really good way. You can name these whatever you want. If you go into this right under here and you type in, la, 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 you can see now that that is going to be la, la, la on your hit type there, So you can really organize the hell out of your drums in here. You can put under the hit type, you can put all kinds of stuff in here. Big, wet, sloppy. And then there it is, big, wet, sloppy, ugh, And so rather than just say hit 1, hit 2, hit 3, you can actually use descriptions to kind of describe that sound. And then, of course, if you go into here, you can instantly switch while your loop is playing. So that's super powerful, the fact that you can name the hit type. Now you also have access to all these controls, and you can actually layer these as well. So I can go add layer, and then I can actually put another kick drum on hit 1. So hit 1 will be 2 kick drums. You can layer the hell out of these things. I could scoot this up to there now, so you can see under hit 1 it's actually 2 drums now. It's actually both of these layered. And of course you can control the velocity as well, the velocity sensitivity. Altering the velocity of your MIDI data, you can also get a bunch of variations that way. We'll actually trigger different drums based on the velocity set. So there's a lot of things you can do within this NX Nano. It's basically like the NNXT but a smaller version. But the great thing about it is it fits on a drum pad, and you can have up to 4 hit types, and then you can also layer those hit types, and you can control all that stuff. Your mod wheel, so here's your mod wheel control, your velocity. Here's your sample start. Your decay. Your level, your global pitch down here. Now, something that it's important to remember is these effects here are, I believe, global. Yeah, these are global effects. So if I alter the pitch of this, it's going to be for the entire drum pad. So you can remember with the NNXT, you have more control over each layer. But so on the NX Nano, these are actually global controls, as opposed to the NNXT, where you can actually alter each individual sample. You can have different parameters on each sample. These, however, are global. You can reverse the sample. And then you have an amp envelope. And of course a level. So here you can add a layer. Now you can also remove a layer. So if I hit remove layer, now that layer's gone. And then you can also edit the sample from right here. If you click on the sample, you can go to edit sample, and there's your sample right there. There it is. So look at that. Now this is something, this pop-up window, this is something that I do wish Propellerhead in the future would somehow integrate it into the UI a little bit better. I mean, this pop-up window is great. I mean, you have all your options here. You know, you can loop this if you want, you know, go into loop mode. Anyway, we're going to have a tutorial coming up on this sample window. Now, another thing that I've noticed about the samples here is it's really hard but getting your samples, like finding these samples. Let's say there's a Cashmere big kick sample. Like, where's it at? So if you go over here to your browser, it's going to be under the very top here. You'll have your instrument effects, utilities, players, and then all your sound banks, your desktop, this computer, right here, song samples. Okay, that's where all your samples are hiding. So there's your drum 1 sample, there's your drum 2 samples. So they're all right here. Then of course you can go edit, and you open up, again, you open up the editor there. You know, and you can loop this or do whatever. Allegory on the top shelf. Well, I can never feel. Alright. That's beautiful. Okay, but that's where all your samples live, because that's a little confusing. In the past, it was on this F8 menu up here. It was next to your groove. You had your groove, and then you also had your samples up here. They did away with that. They're actually under this little tiny sample tab here. But the great thing about this is every single thing in your track is there. So your reverb, if I open that up, that's my my impulse response right there, or my reverb. But yeah, that's the Kong. Check it out, because the thing that's great about it is have like different Kongs. What I have is I have a different Kong for each genre, and load up your favorite drum samples, your favorite hi-hats, your favorite kicks, your favorite snares. And you have a lot of space to work with, because with 4 different hit types, with 16 pads, that's 64 samples. And then also use these auxiliaries on the back here. Use these auxiliaries. These auxiliaries are great. Now you can run these auxiliaries right into a mix channel on the SSL. For this particular tutorial, I just ran them into like a little submix here, right here on the mix channel, because that's an easier thing. I really like the idea of making little submixes. Layer your stuff, add effects, but don't just add them inserts. Inserts are bad. Always, you know, sends are always going to be better for you than inserts, just because you can control the amount. With inserts, it's going to fuck up your gain structure, and you're really altering. You got to think about, with an insert effect, you're really altering your chain there. With sends, you're adding. You know, you're not altering the original signal, and I'm a huge fan of not altering the original signal. But yeah, the fact that you have these 2 auxiliaries right here, and then you can just click this, and your auxiliary 1 and 2 are right there. You can control the send amounts right there. That's cool. That's really nice. That's it. That's the Kong. Um, Often underutilized, the Kong drum designer.